right, let's dive into a world that's a little, well, let's just say it can get a bit explosive.
Literally explosive sometimes.
Exactly. We're talking dangerous goods shipping.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not as simple as you might think.
Yeah, it's definitely not just slapping a warning sticker on a box and calling it a day. There's a whole international code for this
A
stuff.
whole code.
The IMDG code. It's massive, and it's constantly changing too. Keeping up with it can be a real challenge.
I can imagine. New materials, new technologies.
Yeah,
Things are always moving around the world in different ways.
you got it. So it's not just about knowing what's dangerous, it's also knowing how to transport those goods safely. That's where the IMDG code comes in.
So it's like a rule book for everything.
Pretty much. From classifying hazardous materials to, packaging them the right way, labeling, and even figuring out how to store them together safely, whether that's on a ship or in a container.
Okay, yeah. I'm starting to see why this could be a major headache for, well, anyone involved in shipping, really. But that's what makes today's deep dive so interesting. Because we're looking at how artificial intelligence can make this whole process smoother.
Smoother and safer, hopefully.
Right. We're talking about IMDGGenie.ai. It's a suite of AI agents designed to be like your personal guide through the IMDG code maze.
It really is fascinating how IMDGGenie.ai breaks down this massive code into, manageable pieces, and then presents it in a user-friendly way. It's almost like you're interacting with a team of experts.
And these aren't just any advisors, right?
Right. They're specialized AI agents, each one focused on a specific aspect of, dangerous goods compliance.
So today we'll be focusing on 3 of these agents.
Advisor, screener, and segregator.
And the cool part is they don't just work on our own. They actually collaborate.
Yeah, through this innovative interface called vertical AI agents. Imagine a control panel where each agent has its own designated space. You can see everything laid out visually. It's really intuitive.
I'm getting sci-fi command center vibes here.
A little bit, yeah.
So we have these 3 AI agents all working together through this visual interface. Let's break down what each one actually does, starting with screener. This sounds like it's all about making sure we're not, shipping a box of fireworks labeled as teddy bears.
Yeah, exactly. Screener is your first line of defense. It classifies dangerous goods accurately and then matches them with their UN numbers.
Okay, hold on. UN numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not fluent in dangerous goods, so what are those exactly?
Good point. Every hazardous material has a unique 4-digit UN number. Think of it like an ID that tells you exactly what the substance is and how dangerous it can be.
Okay. So screener is checking that everything being shipped has the right ID, so to speak. That way you avoid those potentially disastrous mix-ups.
Exactly. And this early detection is crucial. It helps prevent so many potential hazards down the line.
Okay, so screener makes sure everything is labeled right. What about validator? What's its role in this AI dream team?
Validator is all about the details, making sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed.
So it's like a super meticulous inspector.
Yeah.
Combing through everything.
Precisely. It checks every document, every procedure against the IMDG code, ensuring complete accuracy and compliance. And it does it all automatically, providing real-time feedback, highlighting potential issues, suggesting corrections, making sure everything aligns with the code.
It even catches tiny errors.
Even those, yeah. The ones that could cause big headaches later on if you're not compliant.
All right, so we have screener classifying and validator checking for errors. What about segregator? This one sounds interesting.
Segregator is where things get strategic. This agent is all about making sure that incompatible goods are never stored together. Think about safety. It's crucial.
Back to our box of fireworks example.
Right. Segregator would make sure those fireworks aren't anywhere near, say, a container full of flammable liquids.
Makes sense.
It takes all the guesswork out of figuring out what can be stored safely together. It creates a safe, compliant loading plan based on the IMDG code, minimizing the risk of accidents.
Okay, but the IMDG code has so many segregation rules. How does segregator handle all that complexity?
It's really brilliant, actually. Segregator takes all those rules and translates them into clear visual instructions, so they're much easier to understand and apply. It actually simulates container loading.
So you can actually see how it should be done.
Exactly, and this makes the whole process so much safer and more efficient.
Okay, so we've met screener, validator, and segregator, our AI musketeers, so to speak, for dangerous goods shipping. But there's one more key player. Advisor, the command center of IMDGGenie.ai. So what does Advisor do?
Think of it as the conductor of an orchestra.
Okay.
It oversees the entire dangerous goods shipping process. orchestrating the work of the other agents.
So it's making sure they all work together to get that compliant and efficient shipment.
You got it. It's constantly analyzing data, making adjustments, and ensuring the workflow runs smoothly.
This vertical AI agent's UI sounds pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see what it actually looks and feels like in practice. What about those screen captures of the agents in action?
Well, that's a perfect lead-in to the next part of our deep dive.
Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be back soon with a sneak peek at IMDGGenie.ai in action.
Welcome back to our deep dive into IMDGGenie.ai. Now we're going to get hands-on with the vertical AI agent's UI.
All right. Let's see these agents in action.
Let's start with Advisor.
I'm ready for that AI-powered command center experience.
Yeah.
You described it as the hub where you get a bird's-eye view of all your shipments.
Exactly. Think of it as a clean, dashboard-like interface. It gives you real-time updates on everything.
So if I'm a shipping manager, I can see where all my containers are, what's in them, and if they're compliant with the IMDG code.
All in one place. Yep. And it's not just their current location. You can track a shipment's entire journey.
From start to finish.
From point A to point B. You can monitor its progress through all the checkpoints, and it highlights any potential problems along the way.
Wow. So it's like a GPS tracker, a compliance checker, and a logistics manager all rolled into one.
That's a great way to put it. And if Advisor detects a potential problem, like a document that's missing or a segregation conflict, it flags it immediately.
No more digging through emails or spreadsheets.
Nope. You get a visual alert and a clear explanation of the issue. It's all right there.
Advisor sounds like a lifesaver.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to Screener. How does its UI help with the sometimes pretty daunting task of classifying dangerous goods?
Remember how we talked about UN numbers being like IDs for hazardous materials?
Yeah.
Well, Screener's interface is where you input all the key detail.
The name, the description, hazard class, all.
Exactly. But there are so many different types of dangerous goods and a lot of technical jargon. It's easy to get lost or make a mistake.
Even with the IMDG code right there with you.
Right. So that's where Screener's AI comes in. As you start typing, it uses predictive text and drop-down menus to guide you.
So it's kind of like those autocomplete features we use in search engines.
Yeah, but tailored specifically for dangerous goods.
That's pretty cool. And incredibly helpful.
It really minimizes the risk of human error.
So it's like having an IMDG expert right there with you, guiding you through the whole process.
Exactly. And to make sure everything is accurate, Screener cross-references your input with the latest IMDG code regulations.
Like a built-in fact checker.
Exactly, and make sure everything is up to date.
Screener sounds like an essential tool for sure. Now let's talk about Segregator and that amazing 3D container visualization you mentioned earlier. How does its UI bring those complex segregation rules to life?
Segregator's UI is really innovative. You see a virtual container on your screen completely empty.
Okay.
Then you start adding your goods to the container. They're represented by 3D models.
So you can see their actual size and shape.
You got it. It's not just abstract icons. You're seeing how they'd physically fit inside the container.
That's a game changer for understanding those segregation rules.
It really is. You're not just deciphering complex tables or anything. You see it all laid out right in front of you.
This is where that vertical AI agent's UI really shines. It's so intuitive.
Absolutely. And as you add goods, Segregator monitors the arrangement constantly. It uses its knowledge of the IMDG code to make sure everything's compliant.
So if you try to put two incompatible goods together,
It steps in right away.
like, hold on, that's a violation.
Exactly. And then it explains why it's a violation and suggests other ways to arrange things so you stay compliant.
All in real time.
Yep. As you're building that virtual container load.
This is incredible. IMDGGenie.ai is starting to sound less like software and more like a revolution in how we handle dangerous goods.
That's a great way to put it. It's like having a whole team of AI experts working alongside human operators.
Making everything safer and more efficient.
Exactly. IMDGGenie.ai is combining the power of AI with this innovative UI. It's making compliance so much easier and faster and more intuitive than ever before.
And speaking of the human element, that's exactly what we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive.
We'll look at how IMDGGenie.ai is empowering those who are on the front lines of dangerous goods shipping.
Making their jobs easier, safer, and more efficient. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've spent this episode looking at the IMDG code and how IMDGGenie.ai is using AI to, well, make sense of it all.
Yeah, it can definitely be a bit overwhelming, even for those of us who've been in the industry a while.
Exactly. But now we're getting to the most important part.
The human element.
Right. Because at the end of the day, it's still people who are loading those containers, driving those trucks, piloting those ships.
Absolutely. And IMDGGenie.ai isn't about replacing human expertise.
It's more about supporting it.
Yeah, exactly. It's about giving those on the front lines the tools and information they need to do their jobs safely and efficiently.
Okay, I like that. So let's break it down, agent by agent, starting with advisor. How does advisor specifically empower those working in dangerous goods shipping?
Well, think of Advisor as a kind of personalized compliance assistant. It guides users through the process, anticipating potential problems, sending alerts, offering expert recommendations.
So it's like having a compliance expert in your pocket.
Pretty much. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of compliance, reduces stress, and lets people focus on what they do best.
Okay, makes sense. What about screener? How does that help those who are actually dealing with the dangerous goods?
Screener is really helpful for warehouse workers and those packing goods. Remember that user-friendly interface we talked about?
Yeah, the one with the predictive text and drop-down menu.
That's the one. It guides users step by step through the classification process, makes it really hard to make a mistake, even for someone who's new to handling dangerous goods.
So no more trying to decipher the IMDG code under pressure.
Exactly. It provides clear instructions, makes the classification process much more accurate and, a lot less stressful.
All right, last but not least, let's talk about segregator. What role does it play in empowering the people actually loading the containers?
This is where that 3D visualization really comes into its own. Imagine being able to see exactly what you're doing, a virtual representation of the container you're loading.
With each item shown in its actual size.
Yeah, exactly. Segregator shows workers exactly where each item needs to go to comply with those IMDG segregation rules.
So it's basically like a virtual blueprint for loading a safe and compliant container.
A perfect way to put it. It really takes the guesswork out of it, reduces the risk of human error, and ultimately creates a much safer working environment for everyone.
Well, we've covered a lot today. From the ins and outs of the IMDG code to the power of AI and that incredible vertical AI agents UI, it sounds like IMDGGenie.ai is really changing the industry for the better.
It is, and it's not just about improving efficiency, it's about improving the lives of the people working in the industry too.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so exciting. So as we wrap up our deep dive today, we want to leave you with a thought. If AI can have such a positive impact on a complex field like dangerous goods, what other industries could benefit from this kind of human-centered approach?
It's a great question, and honestly, the possibilities are endless.
That's right. As AI continues to evolve, we could expect to see even more innovative solutions that make our work easier, safer, and hopefully a little bit more fun too. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll be back soon with another fascinating look at the world of technology. Until then, keep exploring and keep learning.